PGP stands for Pretty Good Privacy, and there are two primary ways to use PGP encryption. One is to encrypt files, and the other is to encrypt email. And I gave a presentation last night that covered both of these. We're going to basically skip over the file encryption because it's really not something I recommend, and we don't have time for it anyway. So you can send email two ways: to another person who uses PGP, or to anybody else, like a non-encrypted email client, and you can digitally sign it. So it comes not, there are two certificates that you can get in PGP. One is the one that represents encryption and one that represents signing. And you can send a signed message to anybody so that when they receive it, they'll have a confirmation that it came from you. So we're going to skip file encryption. All right, so on Windows and perhaps on Mac, I don't know, you want to start by installing a program, an open source program called GPG for Win at this web address, and it installs a program called Cleopatra, which is the Certificate Manager Graphical User Interface program for PGP. And when you run it, it gives you the options to do things like creating a key, searching a certificate server, uploading your certificate to a server, removing your certificate, saving it to a file, things like that. So it installs, and I'll show you Cleopatra a little later. The easiest way to do file encryption, I gave this presentation last night. It was tough. Proton, if you want to send encrypted mail from you to somebody else, and you want to do it the real, no-brainer way, encryption for dummies, Proton offers a free email account that has 5 megabytes, I think, of mail server storage space. But if you and a friend of yours, or you and a relative of yours, or colleague, or whoever, both sign up for Proton Mail for the free account, you can send each other, it automatically knows how to end-to-end encrypt email from two Proton users. So when you don't have to learn how to do anything, it just works. The second best option is to use on any operating system the program Thunderbird. Thunderbird is an open source email client that has the built-in support for PGP encryption. It can create a key. It can check the internet for published keys. So it's a very good way to do PGP encryption. It makes it very easy. You can skip over the Cleopatra part. You can create everything in Thunderbird. I don't know how well it works. I've heard different stories. The GPG for Windows program, if you have Outlook, it installs some kind of a plugin that lets you use PGP encryption in Outlook because it's not natively there. And then we're going to cover two browser plugins. The first one is called FlowCrypt. It's dedicated to Gmail. It only applies to Gmail, and it's very easy to use. Mailvelope is another browser extension. It also works with Gmail, but it also works with Yahoo Mail, and I've used it with Comcast Mail. I use it with my DreamHost Mail. It supports a wider variety of webmail providers. The FlowCrypt browser extension, as I said, only works with Gmail, and it's in the Chrome Web Store, the Firefox Store. Brave and Edge use the Chrome Store. It doesn't do anything like Outlook or Yahoo. It just does Google. Mailvelope works with Gmail and many other providers. The supported providers, built-in or known, are Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, and GMX Webmail, and you can add your own. You can certify your own mail servers. My email is hosted at DreamHost. DreamHost supports Mailvelope browser extension, and it also uh, their user interface and settings for webmail have an option to configure encryption through Mailvelope so that it works right in the user interface. Um, Mailvelope can work even if it's not pre-configured. So if your mail server is not an authorized domain, you can still activate it manually. You basically go into your webmail in your browser, click on the Mailvelope extension, and then choose authorize this domain to allow Mailvelope to inject its controls. Reload the page and everything should be okay. This means that Mailvelope can work with many webmail servers. How to find public keys. If I publish a server, a key, it goes to, by default, openpgp.org. And FlowCrypt has the option to look up PGP keys. Thunderbird can do it, Cleopatra can do it, and these other websites can do it also. This one here, keys.openpgp.org, is the master PGP directory. It's what Thunderbird uses by default. It's what the browser extensions are going to use. Cleopatra uses it. After creating your PGP key, it's a very good idea to also create a revocation certificate. This can only be done in Cleopatra. Cleopatra is, Thunderbird and the browsers can't create a revocation certificate. The reason why you want to create that is that if you publish your certificate to a public server, you are required to have this revocation certificate to go online and revoke it so that you can take your name out of the directory. Practical recommendation is to use Thunderbird. It's makes it very easy, and use Cleopatra for key publishing, revocation, and server interaction. Thunderbird has no fine controls over key server behavior. It doesn't do. Cleopatra can revoke a certificate. Thunderbird cannot. So the three platforms that I use encryption on are Windows in the Thunderbird app, in webmail, and on my phone and tablet. So I'm on the Android platform, and in the Google Play App Store, there is a program called Open Keychain, Easy PGP, and that is the only program in the Google Play Store that manages PGP keys. And when you install it, it can do pretty much everything that Cleopatra can do. It can look up entries on the server, you can create keys, you can import keys. And then once you have this set up, I know of 3 email programs in the Google Play Store that support PGP and go through Open Keychain. For example, the Google Mail doesn't work. The Outlook Mail is not going to work. The number one choice is a program called Fair Email. It's open source. It's free. They have a paid option that I have. It was like $7 one-time fee. K9 and Thunderbird can also do encryption through Open Keychain. Thunderbird organization purchased or absorbed the K9 program, and they're now both the same. And Thunderbird ruined the program. So I've been using K9 for about a decade. I just started using Fairmail, and I like it more than this stuff. So use these 2 programs, Open Keychain and Fair Email, on the Android platform. On the Apple platform, my research shows that there is a program similar to the Android keychain program called PGP Anywhere. It's a dedicated Open PGP app. It lets you generate keys, import keys, encrypt and decrypt, and do all that stuff. You don't really need it because it it includes a keyboard that allows you to do the encryption into other emails. So if you want to use Apple Mail, you can import encrypted data into your Apple Mail and send it to somebody. Um, on according to ChatGPT, the primary way to use PGP encryption on the iPhone is to use a product called Canary Mail. Um, it has a built-in PGP key manager, so you don't need any other app. You just use Canary. It lets you import existing keys and create new ones for sending and receiving encrypted mail. So this is supposedly the app to use on the iPhone. And now I'm going to show you the different products. But before I do, in Thunderbird, this is what you will see um, when you send encrypted messages back and forth between two people. You should see an indicator that there's a good digital signature and that the message is encrypted. This is a good sign that your mail was end-to-end encrypted. This one here is invalid digital. Something was very wrong, and you may have email coming from an alternate source. Um, Uncertain digital signatures is usually a screw up on the users. They didn't do something right, and the signature doesn't work right. Um, and this one, if I were to send an email to somebody that's not using PGP, and I just wanted to digitally sign it, this is what you would see in Thunderbird: good digital signature and not encrypted. So that's the end of the presentation. And I'm going to start with the browser extension since I have it open right here. Um, this is Google Chrome, but like I said, you can use any browser. Um, in my extensions, I have the FlowCrypt uh, encryption, and I have Mailvelope in here. So if I go into Manage Extensions, uh, this is what it looks like for the Mailvelope icon, and this is what the FlowCrypt icon looks like. And if you go into, actually, if you go into the store and you type in PGP, both of these will come up. You need to install at least one of these two to get encryption working. I have them both loaded and I'm using them both. For the Mailvelope can be used with Gmail. However, I learned that you can use alias email addresses in Gmail. However, Mailvelope doesn't support them. FlowCrypt does. So on Gmail, it's best to use the FlowCrypt. If I go into my mail and I'm in my inbox, this is the normal compose button for doing a new Gmail message that has nothing to do with encryption. Over here, I have a secure compose, which is from FlowCrypt, and here is the secure compose for um, the Mailvelope. So if I click on secure compose, I can send it from any of my alias addresses. King Drew at King Consulting is what I normally use. I can type in somebody's email address, put in a subject, write my email in here, or paste it into here, and then click on encrypt, sign, and send. And it will do both of these. I can turn, I don't know if I can turn one of them off, but you can add file attachments through here. So this is where you do your email and your encrypted attachments. And then you just hit send and you're done. And the Mailvelope works much the same way. You put in your recipient, your subject, and, if I put in ST, I don't have anybody in here with that. So if you look at my inbox, you'll see right here, I have an email that says encrypted.asc. this is somebody sent me an email that's end-to-end encrypted. And if I click on it, the email that actually is the encrypted one is this middle one here. And you'll see that it's going through and uh, there's it just finished decrypting the message. This is the encrypted message. And then this is it from FlowCrypt. It got stepped on. Um, but this is the encrypted message. If I go back to my inbox, you can see here's another encrypted message. So this it will automatically decrypt the email, and this is the email that I got.
That's
So
using mail
uh,
crypt, is that correct? Mail crypt or
it's using Mailvelope,
okay. The one that you're recommending is the one called mail crypt for Gmail.
FlowCrypt.
Flow crypt. That's the one that says secure compose at the top there. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And in here in my browser, I have the two extensions. The first time that you run them, you can click on settings. And oh, and FlowCrypt has an Android app as well. I don't know if they have an iOS app, but on my Android phone, I have a FlowCrypt app installed from the App Store, and it can log into Gmail, and you can see all your encrypted mail.
Hmm.
You see how it has a Get Mobile app right here, and FlowCrypt is available as an Android app and as an iOS app. So this is how you could read all your mail on your phone. You can send and receive email. You can encrypt and decrypt. So this might be the best way to go on your on your iPhone. Um, where is my mail? Let me go back into here and I'll click on here. And this is the main menu. And I'm going to click on additional settings to bring up the full menu. Now, here is an entry for public key. And it shows the public key is for King Drew 333 at Gmail and also King Drew at King Consulting. And that's how I can use this certificate with both my Gmail address and my real email address. And when I created the key in Cleopatra, uh, you have the option of adding additional email addresses to the key when you create the key. And it says that public keys are safe to share with others. Um, and here's a button to save the public key to a file. If I wanted to send end-to-end encrypted email with Steve, and he set up FlowCrypt on his computer, I could save this public key to a file and then email it to him, and he'll be able to use the FlowCrypt extension to import the public key. And then he'll import it into Thunderbird if he uses Thunderbird. He'll import it into the app on his phone. Or if you use the FlowCrypt app, you don't even need to do that. Um, and never send your private key to anyone. Your private key is what decrypts email. The public key encrypts the mail. So you can give the public key to anybody. If they gain access to your Gmail account and log in and set up FlowCrypt, they can't do anything with the public key other than send you an encrypted message. They can't decrypt anything. They can't do anything with it. It's completely useless. However, when you receive an encrypted message with that public key, your private key will decrypt it. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Yes, it's a standard public-private key. You tell everyone in the public key they can encrypt their messages using it, and the only one who can decrypt it is the guy who has the private key, which is you.
Yes. And here is the key. Oh, that brought me to the same spot. Um, a tester is a shows all of the different email addresses that I've submitted. Um, if you go into here, this little button here is the add key button. If I click on add key, I can generate a new key, or I could load from a backup or load from a file. So if I created my key with Cleopatra, I would click on load from file, and I could then select a here's Drew King 333 at Gmail. See, here's my secret key. Okay, I could then say open, and it would import my secret key into the flow crypt. Now, you you're going to when you create Cleo in Cleopatra, I'm going to show you this real fast. In Cleopatra, when you create your keys, there are two ways to save. There's two keys that you have to save. Here is my kingdrew at Gmail, and if I double click, it should open, and it's not. Oh, there it is. Here is an option to export, and this is what a public key looks like. So this is my actual public key
Hmm.
that I could send to somebody. Um, this is the button to revoke to generate the revocation certificate, and every certificate has a paraphrase, and the paraphrase is what unlocks the key. So if you click on export, oh, that add user ID is another way for me to add an additional email address to my certificate. And I'll hit close. Now, if I click on export, it's going to export my public key. So yeah, it says, I don't know if you can read this, but it says Drew public.asc. And you want to save that file somewhere. I keep it in my KeyPass password manager. Um, this is the key that you would email to somebody else so that they could send you encrypted mail. So if Steve were to set up encrypted mail on his computer, I can email Steve this public.asc, and he can import it into his key manager. Underneath file is an option to back up your secret key. If I click on back up the secret key, it's going to create a file name that actually has the word secret in it. So you can distinguish between the public key and the secret key. And when you set up your browser or you set up Thunderbird, you need to import both your public key and your secret key. The reason for that is Thunderbird can share the public key with other email users directly, as can the browser extension needs to be able to send the public key to somebody. And you need the secret key imported so that you can read your mail. So if I hit save, it just goes out and creates the file. And now I'm going to assign it a paraphrase. My paraphrase is about 5 or 6 words connected by symbols, and it's nothing I can remember. It's in my KeyPass password manager. Something that you never want to lose. If you lose this, you lose access to your key. And if you lose access to your key, you can't read your mail anymore. So you don't want to lose it.
Can I jump in here for a second, Drew, and just ask some questions?
Sure.
Okay. Pardon me if I'm getting too elementary, but it's early in the morning in the West Coast, and my mind is rather in the elementary mood. Suppose I have a situation where I have my next of kin, then I need to communicate information with them, and I don't have any other, they're on a different part of the country or the world, and I want to send them messages and information, and I don't want anyone else to be able to read it except him and me. So that's why I would one reason I would use something like this to encrypt the messages. Am I right on this?
Yes, you're very correct.
Now, suppose so. What I would do is I would load something like you had the one with the little triangle on it. I would install that into Gmail, for instance. What is that called again? FlowCrypt.
Flow crypt.
So I would install FlowCrypt onto my browser, and then when
Yes,
I go in and when I go into Gmail, sorry, yes, and when I go into Gmail, it shows as an option. So
yes,
I would click on that and create a message that would be encrypted.
right. So
So I,
basically, if you create, you can create your public key here in FlowCrypt and not use uh, Cleopatra. I choose to use Cleopatra because it can do the revocation. Um,
but
and then,
we're talking about the simple one right now. I would
right,
install FlowCrypt on my machine and I would do a setup of it, which would set a public private key pair.
right. So if you sent me your public key, I would just say add key. Oh no, this is add private key. Go to public key and
Share your
copy
public
public
key.
key. This is my own key. Um, where do I go to export? Import
Import
public
public.
keys. So here's where I can import. I can select a file and I can import Steve's public key.
Well, we're not quite there yet. Here I am, and I'm getting ready to send you, Drew. You're my next of kin for purposes of illustration today. And I would install FlowCrypt on my machine and create a public-private key pair. And then I
Yes,
would send you a plain text email message that has my public key in it.
yes,
Now, for us to have a two-way communication, you would have to install FlowCrypt on your machine
yes.
and install, as you just showed, my public key on your machine.
Right.
At the same time,
Now,
when you go ahead.
as the other user, I could use FlowCrypt also. I could use Mailvelope. I could use Thunderbird directly without either of these,
As
or
long
I
as you're
could be a
using
Proton.
PG, as long as you're using PGP.
Yes, or I
So
could be a
I
Proton user. Proton uses PGP also. So if I were using Proton, like I have a friend that lives in Orlando. He uses Proton Mail. I use Thunderbird. We
so
exchange
so
public keys and we can send each other encrypted mail.
So suppose I set up FlowCrypt on my machine. I send you a plain text email that says, here's my public key. And you say, well, I don't know anything about FlowCrypt, but I'm going to use Proton Mail. So I install Proton, you would install Proton Mail, take my public key, stick it in there. And when you're setting up Proton Mail, you also set up a public private key pair. And you'd send me a plain text message that has your public key in it.
Yes,
So we would both have PGP set up on our machines, me with FlowCrypt and you with Proton Mail, and we'd each have each other's public key. So if I
hmm
want to send you a message, I type up the message and it's going to go to you using my public key. It could be encrypted with my private key and go to you. And the only way to decrypt that would be to use my public key.
yes, my public key.
No, when you send a mail to Drew, it's encrypted with Drew's public key, and the only way he can encrypt it is with his private key.
Thank
Yes,
you for the clarification. You're correct. So I would use Drew's public to encrypt the message, which means that only Drew can decrypt it.
Right.
Now, what happens if I send it over to Dave Kahn? He's sitting over there in Andover, and I sent the message to both you, Drew, that's encrypted using your public key. Yes, and it goes to Dave. Dave doesn't have any encryption software at all on his machine yet.
Right.
And he sees a
right.
message coming in. What's he going to see, and what can he do?
Well, let me go to, simply, I'll go into Gmail and I'll say, I want to send a secure mail. And, oh, I don't know why you're not in here. Oh, there you are. Steve Eisenberg at Gmail. So now, if it's see this button saying loading, um, emails in gray don't use encryption. So what it just did was it looked in my FlowCrypt data, and it recognized that I don't have your public key. So I'm unable to proceed at this point to send you anything at all that may resemble an encrypted message because it just won't work.
Hmm.
Now, here is a button to say add their public key or ask them to install FlowCrypt. Now, FlowCrypt has a unique feature in it that has alternatively send your email password protected. So if I wanted to, I could choose password protected and send encrypted emails to users who don't use encryption. So if I have FlowCrypt installed and I have my private key and I've imported the key, I can send Steve or anybody a password protected email.
So if
And
we were to do this, I would send it. One of us would send it using encrypted mail to Dave Kahn, sitting there comfortably in his room, and say to him, David, say to him maybe on the telephone or in a separate message, said, David, the password is hogwash butternut.
yes,
And then when he gets a message, it would say, this is encrypted. What's the password? He would say hogwash butternut. And all of
hmm
a sudden he could read it.
That's for a one-time out of band passing of an email that you don't want to pass in the open. That's what that feature is for. Am I correct, Drew?
Repeat that again.
That's essentially a one-time use. Send an email without having to send it through in the clear to an individual without
Yes.
password. So you call
Yeah.
them on.
If you want to send your accountant or your financial manager an encrypted message, and you don't want to tell them or ask them to set up PGP, you can go in here and send a password protected email.
What software do they use to decrypt it?
They don't use any software. They'll be presented with an option to type in the password that you give them either over the phone or through a text messaging or some other
Okay.
way other than your email.
So full grip.
Well, I think they can do it over the web.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll get a URL that
Okay.
directs them and then prompts them for the password.
So Drew, while there's a lull on the action, let me take the
What?
other side of Steve's question. For most users, maybe just for me, but I don't really have a need, or I don't think I have a need to encrypt email between the people I'm sending. I don't send people secure documents in general. If I'm conversing with my financial advisor, for example, they have a portal, and I just work with the portal, which is a VPN, and it's encrypted all the way up, and so that's secure.
Right.
I mean, some people
Okay,
don't.
here's an example of what you can do. I have a subscription. Proton Mail, which is the secure mail company, has a division of their company called Simple Login, and they specialize in alias email, and that their alias email program allows me to link a new email address. I have an email address called Drew at doodles.simplelogin.com. And if I were to say, I don't want you guys to use my King Consulting address anymore, I want you to use Drew at doodles.simplelogin, what will happen is you'll send that email to me just the way you send it to anybody else, and it will get delivered not directly to me, but it will go to the Simple Login system, and they have on file my public key, and they will encrypt the mail and then forward it on to me. And when it lands in my inbox, it's encrypted
Hmm.
so that 100% or nearly 100% of my email in my inbox is encrypted, and my provider, whether it be Gmail or DreamHost or Comcast or whoever, they can't read my mail. It's encrypted on the server.
All right, so that's what you're encrypting it on the server to protect that. I'm going to pick somebody, Google, from snooping. But
Yes.
but between you and Proton Mail, if someone's sniffing the network, it's in the clear, correct?
If I send email to somebody on Proton, it's end-to-end encrypted.
No, not end to end. I understand that. But if I want to send you an email at your secure address, I don't have encryption. You do, so I send it to the PGP thing you just talked about.
If you were to take your whatever mail you use, you're on Yahoo, I think. If you were to send an email at any time to drew@doodles.simplelogin.com, it would land in my inbox at kingconsulting.us. Only it would be encrypted, and you don't know, and you don't care.
Right. But before it gets encrypted, the email is in the clear, correct?
Yes, it is.
And so therefore, the recipient, I keep forgetting the name of the people that do the encryption. So they still have the ability, if they choose, to read your email because it
Correct.
isn't before they do anything.
Yes.
So there's no free lunch from that perspective. So
No, it only has one. It has only one benefit. It protects me from having my provider read my mail.
So if Drew's going to take his laptop and go to China, he wants everything on that laptop to be encrypted at rest on the laptop. Even if it was.
Doesn't make any difference. You have to give the passwords. That's the difference.
Maybe so.
So there's two different aspects here. One is a data at rest, how it's persisted on your machine, and then the data being moved.
Right.
And that most standard stuff is to use this SSL end-to-end encryption and not go through an open.
Right.
So it depends I don't know how many hops, but maybe Drew can talk to what the exposure is to unencrypted email.
Unless you work in the Department of Defense, in which case you send letters.
Well, you can always use encrypted archives, for example,
Oh, they use
as
Signal.
file attachments.
But and try not to invite too many reporters along the way.
Different story. We won't go there.
So let me finish up by showing you Thunderbird and how it differs from the browser extensions. When I go into Thunderbird and I go into account settings, here is my kingdrew.333@gmail account. And in Thunderbird, it has a menu called synchronization. Oh, no, end-to-end encryption. And end-to-end encryption, it says open PGP, and it found King Drew at King Consulting and using this key. And this is how you would add a new key. And you can either create a new key or import a key. So you don't even need to have Cleopatra or a browser extension if all you want to use is Thunderbird. You need the browser extension if you want to be able to read those mails through a webmail interface. If you have no intent of using webmail, all you need is Thunderbird, and you can create your key here and be done with it. So I could turn off encryption, or I could turn on encryption. I can use an alternate key if I want to. And then here is the publish button. So if I were to click publish, it would send my public key to the directory server, the openpgp.org. Over here, I have a PGP key manager. And you'll see that down here, I have an entry, if you can read it, called Mike18 at Proton Mail. This is his public certificate that I imported into my database. So he's the only person, the only entries that I can send and receive email from are in this list. If I click on File, I have the ability to import a public key, import a secret key, import a revocation from a file. Now, you have to create the revocation with Cleopatra. Export public key to a file, send public key via email. So if I click on that, it's going to generate a new email, and it has attached to it my public key. So that's how easy it is to just send somebody an encrypted message with your key, or not an encrypted message, but send somebody your public key. Let's see. You can go to the key server and discover keys online. So if I were to type in an email address, I can check the directory and see if that person has published their public key. And if they have, I can import it. And then over here is an option to generate a new key pair. So I can choose the identity. These are all of the accounts that I have set up in Thunderbird, and I can create a new PGP key for any of the email accounts that I have in here. And then you can choose whether you want it to expire or not expire. And then you just click generate, and it creates your keys. And that's all there is to it. If I go into my inbox and I say new email, there's a button up here called Encrypt and another button called Open PGP, which has the option to either encrypt the message or digitally sign the message. So again, if I were to try and send an email to Steve Eisenberg and click on the encrypt button, it automatically turns yellow and says down here at the bottom, end-to-end encryption requires resolving key issues for Steve Eisenberg. And I can click on the do not encrypt button, or I can click on resolve. And here it gives me the option to import Steve's public key from a file if I have it, or discover his public key online. But it's telling me that I don't have a public key for Steve, which I don't. So I don't want to encrypt. However, I can choose to digitally sign it. And if I were to send Steve an email that was digitally signed, I can go into testing digital signature. So over here, I can click here. It says good digital signature, message is not encrypted. So this is how it would look in Thunderbird if I received a email from somebody that had Thunderbird. And it was they sent me a message that had a digital signature. That's basically all there is to it. Once you have the public keys installed and everything is here, it doesn't matter whether the email is encrypted or not. I just read it. Here is an email from my friend Mike Ungerman, and over here it has OpenPGP, and here is it says uncertain digital signature. Something is not right, and I don't know what it is right now, but it tells me that the message is encrypted. So this message was signed with a key that you don't have yet. Oh, okay. I need to import for this account. his key, and I can click on the Discover button, and we couldn't find any usable key matching the criteria because his public key is not published. So I just need to re-import his key. That's all. But as far as reading mail that's encrypted, I don't have to distinguish it between any other mail in my mailbox. I can just read it. So unless anybody has any questions, I'm finished.
Let's go back to digitally signing mail. What does that do in terms of security? What security does that provide? Other than saying,
It provides you with a warm and fuzzy feeling that the email came from me.
okay, as opposed to someone that looks like you, but really is, Bob at the SomaliJunkmail.com.
Only someone with Drew's private key could have created that chunk of content that your program is telling you
Right.
is signed by him.
So it basically it helps with phishing. People who try to look like somebody.
Or an imposter sending, yes, generally.
They can't spoof him.
Spoofing is the word I was looking for. There you go.
So that reduces spam.
Well, no.
It's not going to reduce spam, but it's going to help you distinguish between spam and not spam.
So Drew, let's take it one step further. Do the current email programs like Thunderbird or some of the others, do they have has anyone built a feature that will look at a digital signature and say it doesn't match or something so that it can be determined junk before you even see it to protect you?
You were breaking up a little bit during that.
Yeah, he was.
Two answers to that. One is if it's marked as a PGP signed chunk and it's not it does not match the valid signature, that should be flashing a light or turning on a red flag or something to warning you of that. The other is it's simply not signed. And that's the way 99.99% of everyone's email is.
Yeah,
just
like
not
everybody.
signed.
Yeah.
So it usually puts a little symbol in one of the columns, like it'll add another column. I think those stars may represent something like the color of the star.
No,
Says whether it's
a flag. Like the new flag messages. That's what the star means.
yeah, it's different in every client.
I use Thunderbird, so I
Yeah.
recognize
Okay.
that.
Here we go. Here's an email from Mike Ungerman. And it says open PGP, good digital signature, messages encrypted. This message includes a valid digital signature from a key that you have already accepted. However, if you've not yet verified it, it's really owned by the sender. This message was encrypted before it was sent to you. Encryption ensures the message can only be read by the recipient that it was intended for. Now, if you're using the webmail, unfortunately, this information, this certificate, is going to show up as an ASCII file that looks ugly. It's not going to show you what you're seeing here. It's not going to say good digital or messages encrypted. It's going to be gobbledygook. That's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
I happen to use Thunderbird, so I understand.
So, Peter, you use Thunderbird, and Drew, you're using Proton.
I'm not, but I could be.
So, suppose I wanted to send a message to both of you guys. I want it to be encrypted. I would install the program you said, which is FlowCrypt on my machine. I would create
Now,
public
here's a limitation, Steve, and
Okay.
everybody. If you're using these open free PGP encryption environments, if I want to send an email to two different people, one of them I have exchanged public keys with, and one doesn't use encryption, I can't send that email at all because Thunderbird doesn't know how to send that email to one person encrypted and one person unencrypted. If you are on a Proton, the real Proton mail, a Proton user can send an email to multiple people, some of which are using PGP encryption and some of which are not. And he'll be able to send it and everybody will get what they need to read. The non-encrypted people will not be encrypted and the people who are encrypted will be encrypted. You can't do that from the web browser. You can't do it from Thunderbird. You can only do it from Proton.
Can you do it? Can you do it from FlowCrypt?
To
No.
direct them to a password directed, or are you saying if it's not encrypted at all? Were you talking about the password encryption? Or
Well, actually, if I go back into here, I have to choose either Compose, which is not encrypted, or encrypted. So now, if I were to say, see if you're in here. No, you're not. I'm going to send it to, you can see if I put in, this is showing that I have for my two email addresses a key. If I type in ABBY, this doesn't have my contacts in it.
Yeah, my email. John D.
It only has my emails in here. This is not, you would need to go into your address book and actually paste the recipient's email in here. Yeah. Because I can add attachments, but for some reason it's not showing no, it's not showing it shows Mike Ungerman in here because and it's green because it saw his certificate. If I send it to Abby at King Consulting, and you'll see that if I hit enter, key not found, all recipients need a PGP to encrypt. You can still sign the message. So it's not easy to send somebody a group email where some of the people obviously this will work. This will let me send it to both Mike and Abby, but it's just going to yeah, see the send button's grayed out. So if I type in a subject and a message,
through this window,
I can't even send it. If I say sign only,
it wouldn't make sense
it
for it
was
to
sent successfully. So and then that was that one. If I go in here, oh, see, here's another example. FlowCrypt is fully integrated with Gmail. So now I can see my Gmail contacts. So here's Steve Eisenberg, and it's checking for a key, and it's not finding one. So it turned gray. If I type in Mike Ungerman, it turns green. And if I were to hit send without a subject, send an empty message, please add a password. So some recipients don't have an encryption, please add a password. So I can go over here and whoops, message password and type in a password. And now I can sign it and send it. Send without a subject, yes. Send empty message. And it's now encrypting the message and it's sent. So it actually does work in here in FlowCrypt to send a message to multiple people, some of whom are encrypted, some of whom are not. However, it required that I add a password. So it kind of defeats the purpose of you don't want to hand that password out to everybody. Um, Mike, who's on Proton, doesn't even have to think about it. He can send an email to two different people, one with encryption, one without, and it just works.
So discovered a limitation with the mail envelope that it doesn't integrate with your address book, whereas FlowCrypt seems to integrate. So
Yes.
that's another limitation of envelope.
Yes.
So some of the fields are not encrypted, like the subject field and the recipients and the carbon copy. So those are always are whoever can receive the email will see that stuff.
Well, encrypting the subject field is sort of a non-starter.
All right, it depends on the context.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
The entire encrypted body of the message is an attachment to the message. So all the headers and everything are in the clear.
So that you can put in the subject, this is an encrypted message. Be careful. Right? You can say whatever you want.
To draw attention.
And if you don't want people to know who the other recipients are, you use BCC, and that works very well.
Yeah. So there are some subtleties that have been the years of how these things work. Like the secure compose button, I have a feeling was put in there the way it is to prevent when the standard way that email clients work these days is they let you write a message and they're saving that message into your drafts. So it's a well-known major flaw of the early encrypted email programs that you'd be writing this super secure email to send to your three, friends in foreign countries and stuff like that, and you'd be pushing it up to the cloud server under your email drafts folder and completely in the clear. It completely defeated the purpose of email. So that's why there's been a little bit more effort to put more sophisticated client integration into some clients to prevent dumb things like that from happening, where you're encrypting the mail, but you're not bothering to encrypt the draft, including pushing it to the cloud. So you don't want that kind of thing to happen. That's why better.
I'm stupid. I keep local.
Right.
So I use Thunderbird, which is a local server, a local client, and therefore nothing goes to the cloud.
So there is a kind of a inherent conflict in using a cloud-based client or add-on or email service or anything like that and exposing your private keys to it.
Right.
Most security-minded people would never go down that path.
You would encrypt locally.
Most security-minded people would never use anything in the cloud.
Yeah, you would encrypt.
But the encryption would all be handled locally in your local client. And just one other clarification is like PGP has been around for like 25 or 30 years, I think, something like that. It exists as a complete open source, completely validated, source. The source gets watched and validated. It can't be sort of corrupted or infiltrated by foreign entities or whatever like that. So you can download the client for your platform, and it'll do almost everything that you're seeing here, minus a few little conveniences. So you'll have to tell it, create an encrypted body from this message that I want to send to my buddy, and use this key to do it. Whereas your mail client, it does two steps at once. When you fill in the to field, it says, oh, I see, this is who you want me to find the certificate for, and then go encrypt this body. So you're doing sort of completing two steps at once. But aside from those tiny little conveniences, you can use PGP just by itself and completely locally on your machine. So you're not exposing any cloud services or any program that I've never heard of before that could have been hacked by North Korea, so that every time I put my private key in here, it's sending a copy over, things like that. Like you generally need to be careful about software that you can't control in these kind of environments.
No, as I said earlier, is that all these people have done a wonderful job of reproducing what Lotus had 50 years ago.
Lotus Notes, yeah.
Lotus Development Company, they had
So
email.
if you would rather not trust FlowCrypt extension and or Mailvelope extension, then stick to Thunderbird because it's going from your computer to your friend's computer and it's not using a browser extension.
Exactly. Or perhaps more generally, Drew, I think it may be safe if you use any other standalone client email application. Again, for the same reason. Thunderbird is nicely integrated, but other clients could be as well integrated with a little bit more work. I think that's a true statement.
Now, Microsoft doesn't natively support PGP in Outlook. You have to do a Mickey Mouse thing with PGP for Windows. And then on Linux and the Mac, I don't know what you would do. So you have that problem as well.
Can I ask a broader question? I have an
Sure.
accountant. An accountant has a website. And when they wanted me to download a document, I take that document and I just paste it into some little box that I see on screen on their website. And that's supposedly, quote, secure. What's really going on with that behind the scenes?
You're connected over SSL to that website. You're authenticated as yourself.
Yeah.
It's a secure connection.
The browser is showing you the lock icon typically that indicates that you're connected over SSL. So you're using their public key that's published with their domain.
Yeah.
And you're making a secure connection to them, and you can pass information over that.
But nothing is encrypted.
Yes, it is. It's encrypted. You're encrypting everything you send with SSL, which is a different kind of encryption than
It's
this,
different.
but it is still a public key encryption system using their public key.
And that's what I was saying earlier when I talked about my financial advisor. If I say financial stuff,
Right, that's the same thing.
I log into Fidelity or Bob's Financial
There's no
Company.
private key.
But don't worry about.
They have a private key.
They have a private browser.
Don't worry about public or private. As soon as you log into their secure mail system, messaging system, the whole thing is contained. You're in a narrow envelope. It's contained. It's encrypted all along the way because you're on their server, inside their environment, putting secure stuff there. So it's not in the
I
wire.
just happen to be sitting in my house, but I'm really there.
Well, it's like anything else. It's like the old days when you would dial up a client and you would work on some machine, not your PC. That's exactly what you're doing when you go to Fidelity or whoever you can.
And they have ways of identifying that it's really your machine and that it's really your browser that you usually use. Otherwise, you have to do the security challenges.
Well, when you set it up the first time, they take
Does
all
it take my MAC address or something? What does it do?
No. You would log in for a site where you're SSL connected and you're doing secure document exchange. There would have had to have been an authentication process in the beginning.
So
Now I bought a new machine.
So some is more integrated, right? When you go to the Fidelity site, you already have a secure connection and it's only their site and they've already made you jump through the hoops to prove who you are. And they're sending you a lot of content. Now you're going to send them content the other direction. It's very symmetric. It'll go to a private area that they've assigned to your account because they've tied everything that you're doing to that account.
A different question. When you, let's say you
Right.
use Fidelity.
Like for example, I subscribe to a VPN called NordVPN, and I have a packet. They have a cloud, it's an end-to-end encrypted server encrypted cloud service called Nord Cloud, and you can buy them both as a package, the VPN and the cloud server. So I have 1 terabyte of cloud storage that's server encrypted. They can't read anything I put on the server. Because the encryption happens at the client, not on the server. So when I'm logged into my NordLocker cloud drive, I have 2 options. One option is I can share a file or a folder with someone, and I'll get a hyperlink, a URL that I can email to you, and you'll click on that hyperlink, and then it's going to ask you for a passphrase, which the server generates. So when I say I want to share a file, it gives me two items. It gives me the hyperlink to the file and a encryption password, and that it creates. And I have to give you in two different methods, the URL and the password. So if Steve clicked on that link, it would ask him for the password that I sent him via text messaging or over the phone, and then he can open that folder and access everything that I have in that folder and download it. It has another button in the menu called Request Files, and what that would do is send Steve a link, and again, there's a password, and he would basically be logging in encrypted over SSL end-to-end encryption to my cloud drive, and he can upload files.
What's not clear to me, I've just stolen Peter's username and password to Fidelity.
Right. So
what protects him beyond that now?
So not very much at that point. Okay. So to your point, it's depending upon the connection you have, it may be machine dependent, but for most financial commercial applications, that doesn't make sense. People change machines, people change phones, people change this, people change that. So having a connection to a physical device makes no sense. So when you first logged in, from a business perspective, when you first logged in, you went in, you gave them your name, your email address, gave them your account information. Something about the account information was probably asked to verify it's really, you know something about it. You created a password. They sent you something either through an SMS, through a text message, or an email to verify the email address that you gave to prove that it's really you.
That's optional two-factor that
Right,
most
two-factor.
financial
Two-factor.
institutions would do something like
They
that.
do something like that. They do that all the time in general. And then once they've really determined who you are, your password and your username are all that's generally needed. Sometimes
Those are all heuristic
They
determinations.
usually do.
Yeah.
If they see you're coming from North Korea, they may choose not to let you in.
right.
But they can't tell that reliably because if somebody from North Korea would go over a VPN and come from somewhere else. So
E-Trade,
So
I have, it's called VIP access, where it's a timer that generates a new number every 30 seconds. That's the secondary.
so there's all kinds of authentication. This is a whole area.
Second factor.
Two-factor authentication, which is something you should always use. Two-factor authentication is not 100% secure because it can be spoofed. Whether it's email or SMS, they can both be spoofed. So it's better than nothing, but it's not 100%.
And if you're doing something that it's out of the ordinary, like transferring $1 million to someplace, you may get a phone call or something else to a live person.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. So I'm trying to
Just use
determine
Bitcoin, it's easier.
the limits of encryption. Now, it's one thing if you're just sending generally private information that you want everybody in the world to know.
Well, some people.
The other thing is whether they're going to steal money from you. As my stockbroker said, my bond broker said to me, says, your job as a physician is easier than mine. You just deal with life and death. I deal with money. And people are always trying to figure out how to steal the money.
Of course they are.
So how far does encryption get you in terms of somebody trying to steal your money?
Depends upon where your money is. If your money is in a
A
modern,
jar in the kitchen.
yeah,
Depends how good the cook is too.
yeah. If your money is in a modern financial institution, for all intents and purposes, it is secure. Because first of all, it's not real money. It's just journal entries. And for the journal entries to take effect, you can't go and go into your account and say, transfer $2 million to this
I can't
Bitcoin.
transfer anything out of my account. I have to talk to somebody.
Right.
but that's always vulnerable to social engineering.
Yeah.
I mean, humans are always a weak link in the process, right? You have an actual consumer in the process. If they have a password, they're going to forget it. And then they call in and they say, oh, I forgot my password. Well, what's your mother's name and what's this and what's that and what's that? And they'll eventually give it to you. And there are ways to either get around that or to overhear that, or to use the Amazon speaker in your house to overhear the next time you have to go through that process with them, so they didn't know all those little secure tokens of
I'll
yours.
tell you one thing that I do which answers that. When they ask you for the security questions, I generate a 40-character random string, and those are the answers to the security questions. And I keep them in my dashboard. So that my mother's maiden name, it's not even a name.
But Amazon will hear that.
No, Amazon doesn't, because I'm doing it all with, not verbally on the machine.
Oh, I see, okay.
So when they
We've
call you
already
on the
done that.
phone,
What?
We've already done.
I've already done that.
Previously done.
Yeah.
When they call you-
Every time they ask me security questions, that's what I use for an answer. It's a 40-character random string, which I get from Dashlane, because I like Dashlane. And that's what I use. There's 3 questions. I keep those answers in my in the Dashlane entry for xyz.com that has it. And that way, if even somebody can go rummage the internet looking for my mother's maiden name, I'll give it to them. It still won't work.
That's one kind of research. They realize someone else will hit you with a bogus site from fidelity.com
Yeah.
that
Oh,
then
sure.
prompts you for all this information, and you don't say it out loud. Your Amazon speaker can't hear it, but you're using all these pre-saved values and you're pasting them in, and they're like, we got this guy now.
And that's exactly the common flaw that everybody is to go back to spoof emails.
But on a financial thing, I would never answer them. I go to their site.
Yeah, if you
And
can
then-
tell that you're being spoofed, go no further for sure. That's 100%.
I mean,
That's
also-
good common sense.
And
But
just to complete the circle, you're digressing a little bit, but the spoofing, I mean, we all know when you see something, you can look at the email. You don't have to click on it, but you can see the email that it comes from, even though it says Fidelity
I know
Investment.
this, John Smith, yeah.
It's the address may be XYZ at
They
NorthKorea.com.
could get an address that looks relatively like Fidelity.
they can
Sometimes
do a
they try to
caching attack on
misspell
your
it.
DNS server. Then they can actually set up a temporary server at a bogus address that is temporarily answering to fidelity.com. So it looks good to you.
Well, it may look good to you, but Fidelity's gonna have a problem with it in a hurry.
No, because they'll never know about it. They're fooling your machine. When your machine asks for fidelity.com, we're going to send you over here to our server instead of the way you would normally go to the Fidelity server. Fidelity's never going to know about that.
That's why you do
Well, no.
a two-way communication with them.
Yes, if your browser is smart and things work the way they should, your browser should be able to detect if the server that I've redirected you to doesn't have the correct public SSL certificate for Fidelity, then it would not show up with the little lock on it and all that. And if you were alert and did the right thing, you could tell that.
Yeah, but I can understand being spoofed on the way in. Because it's gonna say Fidelity and it comes from, from some server, someplace, some DNS server that says it's Fidelity, blah, blah, blah. On the way out, I don't go back the same way I came. I go up to the DNS server that I use for.
So that's what I just described as a DNS caching attack. So I've flooded your DNS server so that when you ask it, where is fidelity.com, it's going to send you over to
But
me.
I use
instead
a
of
public
Fidelity.
DNS, does it?
Well, that's better, but then I can find other ways to intercept your traffic to the public DNS server, which has to pass over the public
It's
internet.
called poisoning the DNS.
Poison, yeah, basically.
And so, I mean, it's like anything else. It goes back to,
It's layer
Years
upon
ago.
layer upon layer.
yeah, it goes back 1 billion years ago. It's a constant battle between the bad guys and the locksmiths. To build a better lock.
It makes it
you gotta
harder
have
for
to do
people
it,
that
you gotta
aren't,
build a better lock.
it makes it harder for people that aren't crooks, of course.
All you can do is make it more difficult. You can't make it impossible.
It's like the stuff over the phone, right? For Medicare, how many Medicare calls do people get in the season when they're renewing? They're trying to fish out and get your Medicare number, so they'll have all kinds
I
of
always
reasons.
used to. I figured about that.
Yeah, so they say, oh, did you receive your card? Let's
Right.
make sure it has a date on. Oh, you don't have a date on it. Why don't you read it
We have a
back to
problem with
me?
the last payment we were trying to send you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Can you give us all your information?
Yeah.
No, spoofing is spoofing. People are sophisticated. and all that
Got
stuff.
better.
Drew, thank you very much.